This is your official WWE WrestleMania 36 review here on the YouTube channel. Jeff here with you. Let's just get right into it. For the most part, the event took place from the WWE Performance Center in Orlando, Florida. The show was 2 nights. They billed it as too big for just one night. I know that's funny. So they had a pre-show here for both nights. It was hosted on both nights by Corey Graves and Peter Rosenberg. So let's just get right into night one here. They had one match on the pre-show for each night. So the first night here with the pre-show, they had Drew Gulak taking on Cesaro here. Your commentary teams for Raw was Tom Phillips and Byron Saxton. For SmackDown, it was Michael Cole and JBL. So they had the match here with Gulak and Cesaro. Not a whole lot to it here. This was a match that was added very late. It doesn't go very long. Gulak works over Cesaro's arm for the bulk of the match, but ultimately Cesaro is able to overcome it and win with an airplane split at 4 minutes and 25 seconds. So Cesaro gets a win here. Really not much to say else about the match. I had picked Gulak to win, but Cesaro got the win. I gave the match a D+. So we open up the main portion here of WrestleMania here with the WWE Women's Tag Team title match. Here we had Asuka and Kairi Sane defending the titles against Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. This I thought was pretty basic stuff here for the most part from these individuals. Yes, the women's tag team titles are still a thing, even though they're barely defended on television. Really, the one big thing from the match here, Nikki Cross had hit a neck breaker at one point. Looked like it could have been enough to win the match. They go for the cover here, and it was a clear edit here. We see Kairi Sane come off the ropes with the insane elbow to break up a count here. Clear as day, that was an edit. So that was really the one noticeable thing here. Just a lot of back and forth here from both teams. And we just get to the end of the match here, and Alexa Bliss actually hits Kairi Sane with the Twisted Bliss off the ropes and actually scored the pin at 15:02 to win for her team, and we have new women's tag team champions here with Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. I had picked them to win, so it wasn't really a surprise to me because they really had nothing for them to do. And in all honesty, I think Asuka and Kairi Sane are better off individually, so that's why I figured they were dropping the titles here. Next match on the card, we had Elias taking on Baron Corbin here. Again, not a whole lot to this. Elias gets the jump on Corbin before the match. He smashes the guitar over Corbin here. And they just have the match pretty much brawling. Not really a whole lot to it here as you figured. Referee Jessica Carr, who was the referee in the match, she was the MVP of this match. You know, we just get towards the end here, a lot of brawling, and really nothing much about it. Corbin tries to steal the win by putting his feet on the rope. Referee Jessica Carr caught him in the act. Then Elias actually rolled up Corbin using a handful of tights out of the view of the referee and got the win. That was it. That's really all there is to say about this match. It went 8 minutes 53 seconds. I gave it a D. I had picked Corbin to win, but Elias got the win here, so that's how they played it. So there you go with that, and really not much more to say about it. Next match was the WWE Raw Women's title match. Here we had Becky Lynch taking on Shayna Baszler here. Of course, this was actually one of the better hyped up matches, but again, I mean, this match itself I thought was very disappointing. You know, Becky Lynch last year, of course, main eventing WrestleMania 35, and here she's relegated to a match early in the card here on night one. Basically, the genesis of the match is they both wind up countering out of each other's submissions and all that. Shayna works over Becky most of the match. Shayna does the deal where she smashes Becky's head into the announce table a couple of times like she had done on Raw. Ultimately, we get towards the end here. Shayna's actually got Becky in the clutch. Looked like she's gonna get the win here. Becky looked like she was gonna get ready to pass out, but Becky was able to reach down and actually counter into a pin while the hold was still on her, and actually got the win at 8 minutes and 30 seconds. Becky retained, which was a surprise to me. I figured they were putting the belt on Shayna here, but Becky won. I gave the match a C-. Not the best match we've seen from these two. And clearly this is going to continue, but you know, Becky winning surprised me because I thought she was going to do the drop and be back in chase mode, but clearly I think they're waiting for Ronda Rousey to come back, so that's really all there is to say about it, not a whole lot more. Next match was the WWE Intercontinental title match here. We had Sami Zayn taking on Daniel Bryan, of course. Cesaro and Shinsuke were out with Sami Zayn. Drew Gulak was out with Daniel Bryan. A lot of stalling by Sami Zayn before the match got going. They ultimately get the match going. Drew Gulak eliminates Cesaro and Shinsuke for a while. They get their heat back eventually on Drew Gulak while they take him out. Daniel Bryan goes through the ropes to attack him, nearly killing himself in the process. We just get towards the end of the match. It was decent stuff here. We get to the end of the match. Daniel Bryan looks like he's going for a move off the ropes here, but Sami Zayn caught him with the haluva kick off the ropes and actually scored the pin on Daniel Bryan to retain at 9 minutes and 17 seconds. This is a match that should have been given more time. This was not the best match I've seen from these guys as well. Sami retaining was a surprise. I picked Daniel Bryan, so a little bit surprised that Sami won here. This is clearly going to continue, I think so. So Sami got the win, and that's all there really is to say about it. C+ was my grade for it. Next match was a WWE SmackDown Tag Team title ladder match. They wound up doing one guy from each team here. So it was John Morrison as part of the Tag Team Champions. Here we had Jimmy Uso of the Usos, and then of the New Day we had Kofi Kingston. So they had this ladder match. It's fine. I think it's more like a TV ladder match. We've seen better from these guys. We've seen better ladder matches as well. This is not one of the best ladder matches I've ever seen, but it was serviceable. It did the job. We just get towards the end of the match here. Obviously, the ladders are used as weapons as the match goes on. Each guy gets a chance to shine at one point. All three guys wind up working their way up towards the ladder, towards the belts here at the end. Here they're fighting to get to the belts. They did a deal here with Morrison. Morrison gets knocked off, but he ultimately has the belt in his hand, and it falls down to the ground with him, and that was it. That was the finish here. So Morrison retains at 18 minutes and 32 seconds here for his team. I had picked Morrison to win, so this wasn't a surprise to me. So I was afraid maybe they would go with the New Day again, but they didn't do it. They had Morrison retain. So apparently there is no heat on The Miz here, at least not right now, because of what was been reported about him. So there you go. Morrison wins for his team, and Miz and Morrison are still the SmackDown Tag Team Champions. I gave it a B-. So not the best ladder match I've ever seen, but it was serviceable nevertheless. Next match was Kevin Owens taking on Seth Rollins here. Of course, we know the story that's been going on. Rollins has been getting most of the heat on Owens leading up to this. So they have the match. Pretty much what you would expect here from these guys. A lot of brawling, not a scientific match. They just go along here. Looks like the match ends at about 9 minutes and 58 seconds. KO would have won the match by DQ because Seth Rollins had hit KO with the bell on the outside, the ring bell. Referee stopped the match here. We see Kevin Owens get on the mic and urges Seth to come back to restart the match, a no DQ match. Rollins ultimately agrees to it, so they restart the match. Both guys wind up using the chairs, the stairs, the big spot coming up out after restarting here. Once they're on the outside, Kevin Owens goes up on the WrestleMania sign that we see there right behind the announce position. He does this big flying elbow drop off the WrestleMania sign on the Rollins. He crashes and burns through the table. Sell job here by both guys, and that was a theme on both nights from a lot of the performers here. The selling, the screaming, the anguish, and all that. That was really prevalent here. Ultimately, Owens works Rollins back into the ring. Rollins is trying to plead with Owens. He ultimately does hit the starter, and at 5 minutes and 23 seconds of the restart time in a combined 15:21, Kevin Owens wins the match with the stunner. I gave the match a B-. I actually had thought that Rollins was going to win here, but KO did get his heat in. He got his win back, so Kevin Owens gets the win here. So that's what they did here. I thought the match served its purpose, and it was fine. So we had Rob Gronkowski, who was the host for both nights here. They were doing this deal here, this little skit with him and Mojo, who was his co-host. R-Truth comes up onto the little Eagle Nest platform that they're up on, the perch. R-Truth's talking about needing a place to hide and stay because people were still chasing him supposedly for the title. And you knew what was coming here. Gronk hits this weak-looking forearm shiver. Truth sells it like death. Gronk tries to go for the cover. Mojo actually pushes him off, and Mojo actually then winds up pinning R-Truth to win the 24/7 title. Mojo splits. We never see him again. Well, at least not initially. And then Gronk just looks bewildered. But, we all knew what happens, so stay tuned for that. So the next match here we had on the card, this was the WWE Universal title match. We had Goldberg defending the Universal title against Braun Strowman. It was supposed to be Roman Reigns, but of course we all know the story here. This match did exactly what I thought it would. This was not good. This was horrible. Both guys, we had, Goldberg hit a number of spears, tried to pin Strowman at one point, couldn't get it done. Strowman was able to recover and actually wound up hitting 4 power slams, including the one big running power slam. And at 2 minutes and 12 seconds, Braun Strowman won the Universal title off Goldberg. This was terrible. I gave it an F. I'm serious. I gave it an F, and I almost never give an F to anything, but that's what it was here. So, excuse me. So Strowman won the title here. Look, Goldberg was going to drop the title to Roman Reigns. They substituted him with Strowman, and Strowman won the title here to no fanfare. I gave it an F. That was it. Final match on night one was the Boneyard match here. We had The Undertaker taking on AJ Styles here. It was filmed on location, Hollywood style. Supposedly, and I did read later on here that they actually were out filming for 8 hours during the overnight earlier in the week here with these participants. 8 hours. I'm shocked it took that long in the match. This was pretty much everything we thought it would. AJ arrives in a hearse and a casket, and we see the Undertaker actually, do the dead man version, riding on his bike and doing all that. So that's how he came in on his Harley. So they had this match. Pretty much plays out as I figured it would. Just, a lot of smoke and mirrors here. Really, again, nothing scientific, a lot of brawling here. At one point, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows do get involved, as you expected they would. Undertaker is ultimately able to fight them off. Just back and forth here. Ultimately, they work their way up this shed or whatever this was. AJ's trying to run from the Undertaker, and Undertaker winds up catching him. At one point, AJ actually had the Undertaker in the casket, but they did an edit here where the Undertaker was able to recover, and then that leads to where we're at now. We see the Undertaker at one point give Tombstone Power Driver to, I think it was Carl Anderson. And then they did a deal here where the Undertaker chokeslammed AJ off this, this building or this platform or wherever it was, onto the ground below. AJ sold it like death, and that was pretty much the end of it. The Undertaker pretty much toys with AJ the rest of the way here, working him back over to the grave. The Undertaker, he does a little trickery here, saying he won't bury AJ, but he winds up kicking AJ into the open grave and winds up burying him with dirt here, and that was it. So the Undertaker at 18 minutes and 16 seconds won the match with the dirt. We saw this shot here of AJ's supposed arm up above the dirt. That turned out to be a prop. And the Undertaker just rode off on his bike. So that was it. 18 minutes, 16 seconds. I gave it a B+. The filming of it was great. Granted, there was a lot of smoke and mirrors, a lot of editing, obviously. It was edited for time, clearly. But still, the right outcome. Everyone knew the Undertaker was winning. I had picked him as well. So that was it. So the Undertaker won, and he rode off into the night as they ended night one of WrestleMania. So that's what we had as far as that action goes. So to night now, and I should mention before we go on, At the start of both nights, they had Stephanie McMahon come out on camera to do the opening tease for each night instead of having Vince McMahon, which I don't understand why Vince didn't want to do it. We know he was backstage there at WrestleMania because we would see him briefly, but they had Stephanie do the thing, and they did have, at the beginning of night one, I should mention real quick, this beautiful America the Beautiful, kind of a montage of it from WrestleMania's past. I thought that was very well done. So anyways, on night 2 of the pre-show, they opened up with Liv Morgan and Natty. They had a match here, again, last-minute match thrown together. Really no rhyme or reason to it here. They tried to explain it because of the Elimination Chamber. Really no heat to this match. Very basic stuff here. Natty kind of played the heel a little bit here, but she didn't really do anything heelish. Not a whole lot here. Liv ultimately won in the end after they went back and forth on roll-up attempts, and Liv ultimately got the win at 6 minutes and 23 seconds. Really nothing to say about the match otherwise. Gave it a C-, so that's what we had there. So on the main part here on night 2, they opened up with the NXT Women's title match here. We had Rhea Ripley defending the NXT Women's title against Charlotte Flair. They went right at it here, and Rhea Ripley actually hit the Riptide in the first 2 minutes of the match, but Charlotte wound up kicking out, which should have been a telltale sign that something was going to happen here. And for those that didn't know, on night 2, that happened to be Charlotte's 34th birthday, so that should have been a clue right there as well that something was going on. So the match goes on. Charlotte ultimately works over the left knee of Rhea Ripley throughout most of the match. Rhea's able to fight out of it for a while, able to escape the figure 4, figure 8 combination a couple of times. Rhea fights back to get close, but ultimately, in the end, Charlotte was able to put in the figure 4 and bridge up into the figure 8, and Rhea Ripley, sure enough, at 20 minutes and 27 seconds, tapped out, and Charlotte is once again the NXT Women's Champion for the second time. This is her 11th title reign in the WWE. So she is once again the NXT Women's Champion. I did pick Charlotte here, and in the other match I did pick Liv Morgan as well. So Charlotte winning here, it wasn't a surprise to me. I don't know what people were really expecting here. They really have nothing for Charlotte to do here, and I guess the expectation and what they're figuring is that they can have Charlotte be in NXT, give her fresh matchups to work with the talent down there, and also it's clearly as well a ploy to try to help the NXT ratings against AEW, because AEW has been beating them on Wednesday nights, so I think that's all in play here. As far as this match goes, I gave it a C+. I thought this was pretty basic otherwise, so that's what we had there. So Charlotte once again is the NXT Women's Champion. Next match on the card here had Aleister Black taking on Bobby Lashley. Again, really not much to it here. Pretty basic stuff here. Bobby Lashley works over on Aleister Black for a good bulk of the match. Black makes the comeback. We get towards the end of the match. Lashley looked like he was in position to actually beat Aleister Black, but Lana got up on the apron and actually caused a distraction by calling for Bobby Lashley to hit the spear instead of what he was going to go. Aleister Black wound up recovering and ultimately caught Bobby Lashley coming in with Black Mass and got the pin. So at 7 minutes 16 seconds, Aleister Black got the win. He was my pick to win. And you just knew what was going to happen here once Lana got up. Really very basic match here as well. I gave it a C. They seem to be trying to tell the tale of maybe Lana and Bobby splitting up. We'll see what happens going forward. So we had that. Next match on the card, we had Otis taking on Dolph Ziggler. Of course, all this stuff going on leading into this one. Of course, the stuff we saw on SmackDown previous to this, we got the glitches. We see this guy. We don't know who it is, though. It's believed to be Mustafa Ali with all the symbols. You would think it's going to be him, though. We never see the identity of this person. He's kind of in a control room with a deep thrown-off voice here, so you can't really tell who the voice is. But it's Mustafa Ali, I'm pretty sure. But anyways, we see the footage of Sonya Deville deleting the text off Mandy Rose's phone. This, of course, plays back to what happened with the Valentine's Day date that Otis and Mandy Rose were supposed to have. And, of course, we saw that Sonya had talked to Dolph Ziggler, so they were in on it all along. So we get to the match here. Dolph Ziggler comes out with Sonya Deville here. Otis comes out on his own. I thought, this was pretty good stuff here, I thought, from these guys here. They told a pretty good story. Otis got the early jump, but then Ziggler was able to recover for a while. Worked over on Otis. Otis looked like he was getting ready to make the big comeback. Sonya Deville got up on the apron as Otis was getting ready to go for the Caterpillar. That allowed Dolph Ziggler to hit a low blow behind the referee's back. Looked like things were looking bleak for Otis, but sure enough, Mandy Rose actually comes out. Her and Sonya get into it a little bit. Mandy takes care of Sonya, then Sonya comes around to get up on the apron. Dolph Ziggler works his way over to see what's going on, and then Mandy Rose gives him a low blow from behind the referee's back. Otis was able to recover, and sure enough, he hit the Caterpillar elbow drop and got the win at 8 minutes and 11 seconds. Otis gets the win over Dolph Ziggler. Good deal here, and then sure enough, Otis and Mandy do embrace, and sure enough, they do kiss. What a great moment! What a good payoff. It's unfortunate it didn't happen in front of the live crowd, but we got the proper payoff here, and that was great. And then he carried her off to the back. I gave this an A+. This was just outstanding. This is exactly what it needed to be. The right outcome here, and Otis got the girl. Very happy for the guys. So just good stuff there. It was one of the few bright spots, I will say, on this entire night. So it was nice. It was very good to see. So we had that. So congratulations to Otis. So let's see. After that, we had, what was the next match? I lost track here. Bear with me for a second. Oh yeah, the next match was the last man standing match. That's right, it was the last man standing match between Randy Orton and Edge. Now this was something else here. We knew these two were going to tell a great story. They didn't waste any time working their way out of the ring. Of course, the last man standing match, no disqualifications, no countouts. They worked all over the PC here. They went through the backstage area. They went into Gorilla. We saw Vince McMahon and Paul Heyman there at Gorilla. They tried to hide it, but you could tell it was them. And some other people there, and these two just went at it all over the backstage area here. They left no stone unturned, as that's what I'm trying to say. Both these guys just working over each other. I thought the pacing was maybe a little bit slower than I would have hoped for here, but I mean, these guys just went at it. Both guys very nearly at certain points, almost not beating the 10 count, but again up just before 10. We get to the big finish here. They're on top of the production truck backstage here. It looks like Randy Orton's ready to do a number on Edge. Edge was able to recover and actually hit a spear, which could have probably won the match, but then Edge had told the referee to stop counting, and then he set him up for the concerto. He set Randy Orton up for that action, and he actually nailed him with it. And Randy Orton with a good sell job here, and Randy Orton did not beat the 10 counts, so Edge wound up winning the match at 36 minutes and 41 seconds. Edge was my pick, so again, the right guy won here. I gave it an A-. The one thing, I can't give it an A+ because I thought this just went on a little bit too long. They could have easily cut a few minutes off of this. But other than that, I thought these two told a great story, and it pretty much played out exactly as we all had hoped it would. So the right guy won, but they should have shaved some time off there. So this was no way this needed to go 36 minutes and 41 seconds. So, but Edge got the win nevertheless. So next, they followed up with more 24/7 title stuff here. Charlie Caruso does interview Gronk. Then at one point, we see Mojo Rawley running away from all the low card jobbers here. I guess not practicing social distancing. Gronk is up there on the in the Eagles' nest there in the perch, and you knew what was coming here. We had all the jobbers down below, and Gronk sure enough does the big splash onto everyone. I hated that spot, by the way. And sure enough, Gronk actually covered Mojo Rawley, won the 24/7 title, and he split, and we never saw him the rest of the night. So Rob Gronkowski is the 24/7 title holder. you knew that was coming. We could see that coming 10 miles away. I mean, Triple H all but gave it away in interviews before WrestleMania even happened, because he said that Gronk was going to do something very special, and we kind of figured that's what this was going to be. So we actually saw Titus O'Neil. Titus O'Neil actually came out of catering here. He supposedly does very good catering backstage there as well, serving up the food and all that. And I mean, that's, it's wink and nod stuff, but you get what I'm saying, no? So he was wearing a nice suit, I will say. So we saw Titus O'Neil. He was pretty much the host for the rest of the night. So we continue on with the action here. Our next contest just happened to be the let me see, what was the next match? I'm trying to remember, looking at my notes here. Bear with me, guys, for a second. Oh yeah, it was the Raw Tag Team title match. That's right. It was the Raw Tag Team title match. We had the Street Profits defending the title against Angel Garza and Austin Theory. It was supposed to be Andrade Cien Almas, but because of this rib injury, he was pulled from the match. This match, it was really nothing to the match here. Very basic stuff. It was actually, I didn't think it was pretty good at all. I thought it was a little bit sloppy for my liking. In 6 minutes and 23 seconds, the Street Profits wound up winning and retaining the titles after, Dawkins won for his team after pinning Austin Theory following a frog splash from Montez Ford. The heels come back into the ring to do a beatdown on the Street Profits, but Bianca Belair, yes, she actually shows up here to help her husband, Montez Ford, and Angelo Dawkins clear the ring. She actually hits her big move on Zelina Vega, so Bianca Belair came out to make the save, but yet Bianca Belair couldn't be involved in the NXT Women's title match. Go figure. So again, I don't understand why she couldn't be involved in that, but she came out to make the save here. This was really not good. I gave the match a D+. Next match was the Fatal 5-Way Elimination match for the WWE SmackDown Women's title. All five in there at the same time here. Tamina looks strong early on. She gets the upper hand on everyone else for a little while. They really tried to play it up that she was a legitimate threat to win this. She was not, because she would be the first one eliminated at 6 minutes and 25 seconds when all four of them pinned her. So she was out. Then they went on for a little while here. Every person got a chance to shine at one point throughout the match. Naomi gets eliminated next to 10 minutes and 13 seconds by Sasha Banks after she had hit the bank statements. The backstabber into the bank statement for the tap out. So Naomi was out. So it came down to the predictable three here of Bayley, Sasha, and Lacey Evans. So they go on for a little bit longer here. A miscommunication in the corner. We saw, I think it was Bayley. One of the other, Bayley hit Sasha, or Sasha hit Bayley in the corner with a knee. I think it was Bayley who got eliminated. So Bayley got hit with the knee. Sasha ultimately got eliminated at 13 minutes and 30 seconds by Lacey Evans when she hit her woman's right. So Sasha Banks is eliminated. So we're down to Bayley and Lacey Evans, and I was dreading what they might be doing here, and I was not liking it. So they went on for a few more minutes. Lacey and Bayley go at it. Sasha Banks was still on the floor. She never did go to the back. They tried to hide it for a while, but you ultimately saw it. And then, sure enough, she did play a factor into the finish, as I figured she would once we saw her still out there. And sure enough, Sasha actually got back in the ring because there was no disqualifications, no countouts in this type of a match. And Sasha hit the backstabber on Lacey Evans, and Bayley, sure enough, got the win at 19 minutes and 16 seconds to retain the SmackDown Women's title. I'm glad that Bayley won. I did pick Lacey Evans to actually win the match, but I'm glad Bayley won. But it did come down to Lacey and Bayley. I think the feeling was maybe it was going to come down to Lacey and Sasha, but they went the other way. They had Bayley retain here. But overall, I did not think this was a very good match. I mean, thankfully, Bayley retained it. And I gave it a D+, and they clearly planted the seeds for a Bayley-Sasha Banks program. Hopefully we'll see that pay off at SummerSlam in Boston. Hopefully, if everything gets back to normal, we'll wait and see. But they clearly planted some seeds here for that, so we'll see where they go with it. But Bayley retaining made me very happy, but it was not a very good match, I'm sorry to say. Next match on the card was the Firefly Funhouse quote match, and I'm using match very loosely here. This was not very good at all, I'm sorry to say. this, what they did basically, they did these skits with both of these guys. This went on for about 15 minutes or so, showing the transformation of each guy throughout their careers at the individual stages. They had all the puppets in there from the Firefly Funhouse. I didn't like any of this. This was not good. I was actually expecting a legitimate match here. I guess they were going for wink and nod stuff here. I guess comedy or inside comedy or whatever not. I didn't like this. I'm sorry. I did not like this. Ultimately, though, we get to the end here. We see Bray Wyatt as the Fiend. He hits Sister Abigail and Cena, and then Mr. Rogers' version of Bray Wyatt actually does the count, and Wyatt gets his win back after 6 years. This was a complete waste of time. The outcome was never in doubt. You knew Wyatt was going to win here, but I don't know why they just couldn't have an actual match instead of doing all these skits. And I just thought, I'm sorry, I thought it was a complete waste of time. I gave it a D-. I legitimately did not care for this. So that's my thought on that. And your final match here on night number 2 was for the WWE title. We had Brock Lesnar with Paul Heyman defending the title against Drew McIntyre. This match pretty much played out as I expected it would as well. It did not go very long. Both guys kicked out of each other's finishers. McIntyre had hit the Claymore very quickly. Brock had kicked out, and then Brock hit his F5. McIntyre kicked out, and then it just went back and forth with this. But ultimately, McIntyre, I think after the 4th Claymore kick, actually finally got the pin at 4 minutes and 28 seconds to win the WWE title from Brock Lesnar. McIntyre was my pick here, so the right guy won. But this match, this was not very good. I gave it a D+. I mean, only reason why I didn't get an F is because the right guy won here. Other than that, really not much to say about it. So that's it. That's how they went off the air, with McIntyre holding the title, and rightfully so, but still not very good. So basically, let's give you my official report card grade now, and then I'll give you some extra notes here. My official report card grade for WWE WrestleMania 36, the 2-night spectacular, as they said, and quote, too big for just one night, which we know is a joke, like I mentioned. I have to be honest with you. I'm going to give it a C-. I was thinking about maybe a D+, but you know what? No, I give it a D+. I am going to give it a D+. Look, I realize they had, special circumstances here, how they had to do this, and it's what they had to do. But you know what? I'm sorry. I have to grade it like I see it. Obviously, the fans not being there, not performing in front of live fans, I think hurts. And I'm of the belief, and I've said it from the beginning, and I'm going to say it again, that WrestleMania should have been postponed until they could do it in front of live fans. But you know what? This is how they did it, and I know most of the town apparently didn't want to do it this way, but Vince is the one that made the decision, so this was his call. And I thought for the most part, despite a few good matches, I thought this was a mostly underwhelming event. Maybe it was because the talent wasn't 100% fully invested in it, perhaps. I don't know. It was just, I was very underwhelmed for the most part. But again, look, I understand what they had to do here, but this, to me, it just didn't work out. It honestly didn't work out, and but you know what? They did a number of title changes, which I figured they would, but that's just what I thought. So a D+ is my official report card grade for WWE WrestleMania 36. Let me know down in the comments section below what your favorite match was, and if you agree with my grade, and let me know by giving me a grade as well for your grade for WrestleMania 36 in the comments section. So that's what we had there. We'll see you the next time in the next review here on the YouTube channel. Bye for now, everyone.